This savory treat has its origins in pagan Europe and dates back to a time where each ingredient symbolized abundance and prosperity. It's a dish with similarities to other countries, by name and ingredients, but there's no true comparison to Latvia's version. Filled with smoked meat, onions, and a little seasoning, this simple dish is a certainty on Christmas Eve tables. We're exploring the history and origins of Piragi. I'm your host, Glenn Warren, and welcome to another serving of Seasons Eatings, the podcast which explores the history and origins of your favorite Christmas foods. Seasons Eatings is available wherever you download your favorite podcasts, so please subscribe so we can have other listeners join in the Christmas table. If you have a quick minute, please leave a review for the podcast. It lets me know how I'm doing as well as helping others find the podcast. And if you let me know you left a review, I'll send you a Seasons Eating sticker as my personal thank you. Seasons Eatings can also be found on all the socials. All these links can be found on the website, seasonseatingspodcast.com. And while you're at the site and feeling extra generous this holiday season, you can buy me an eggnog. Just click on the little cup at the top of the page and you can leave a donation for as little as $3. Each donation goes towards the running of the podcast and is greatly appreciated. I want to thank Bob and Mark from the Festive Foreign Film Fans podcast for the inspiration for this episode. They cover holiday films from around the world and discuss the customs, music, and, of course, the food. I'll leave a link to their show in the show notes. And if you're a film buff, you'll definitely want to check them out. Latvian Christmas celebrations have developed along with history, and each period has left its mark. Within them we find a communal memory of Western European traditions handed down through the Baltic German gentry, as well as a Soviet legacy that includes a focus shift to New Year's Eve, Father Frost and Snow White, and the song A Christmas Tree Once in the Forest Born. And there's no escaping Jingle Bells, brought to us by pop culture. The traditions borrowed from elsewhere have integrated so deeply that for generations now, Latvians see these as their own. In Latvia, Christmas Eve is celebrated with a rich tapestry of culinary traditions that blend ancient pagan customs with Christian influences. Latvians have always given food not only practical but also symbolic meaning. Every dish put on the festive table has a meaning, increasing, promoting, improving, invoking, and conjuring. Symbolic products are very important to consume during the holidays that we celebrate, according to the solar calendar. Because before the advent of Christianity, the Latvians were pagans. The Baltics were the last tribes to be conquered by the Christians, and today Christianity is the main religion in Latvia. But people still practice pagan traditions. One of the main animals for Latvian families, especially during the pre-Christian eras, was the pig. It's a great animal to raise on a small amount of land. It eats practically anything, and you could use it for small labor practices. The pig, for example, can find mushrooms and truffles, as it does in France, and it also digs fairly well. And the pig, as a soil digger, also brings success and an easy hand to the men, that is, the field laborers. Thus, the pig being so ingrained with the Latvian families, it's obvious that they would serve it during Christmas and other celebrations. So things like beans and peas were eaten with pork and onions, but the householder and the men whose job was to plow the fields ate the peas with the pig's nose. Central to the festivities is a feast for Christmas Eve, featuring 9 or 12 dishes. This number symbolizes abundance, cyclical time, and prosperity in Latvian folklore. Many dishes have a symbolic meaning for the coming year. For example, fish with large scales, such as a carp, are said to bring money and luck in financial matters. Grey peas with bacon will keep your household from crying too much, but only if you don't leave a single pea uneaten. Spekrausi or Speka Paradisni, sometimes colloquially known as Piragi or Perazini, are Latvian oblong or crescent-shaped baked bread rolls or pastries filled with a finely chopped fatty bacon cube and onions. They range from about 2 to 5 inches in length, depending on if they're intended as a snack or a more substantial meal. Smaller spekrausi are often prized for their daintiness and considered the work of a skilled cook. And as with many national dishes, Latvian families often have their own unique recipe for the dish. Due to the amount of work involved to make them, they're usually made only for special occasions and in very large numbers. Yet one would be able to find them in most local bakeries and pastry shops. Pirags is Latvian comfort food. You can have them with coffee at breakfast, soup at lunch, as a side at supper, and a snack on them in between. If push came to shove, you could survive on them comfortably for days. Piragi are not a seasonal dish in Latvian society because nowadays most ingredients needed to make the different varieties were available from the pantry year-round. After potatoes had filtered into Latvian society from the New World, sometimes potatoes were also used to replace the flour in the dough, allowing the pastries to be baked even when flour was unavailable. This means that piragi could be baked at any time and are historically associated with Latvian celebrations year-round. Now, the two biggest historic Latvian celebrations are for summer solstice and the winter solstice. And one of the most popular and familiar Latvian winter folk songs actually mentions Piragi. Now, I'm obviously not going to sing it in Latvian or even try to sing it in English because I don't know the tune, but I do know the translation. So it translates as, "Christmas arrived in a decorated sleigh. Oh, that poor bacon pie, both ends were burnt." Baking has even played a mystical role in Latvian traditions. Bread was considered sacred. In pagan times, it was taught that if a piece of bread was dropped on the floor, it must be retrieved and kissed by way of an apology. And the piragi is a household recipe. Each home has their own version. There would be much gossip between the Latvian women about the piragi. Oh, you could build a house with hers. And don't get piragi confused with pierogis. Though their etymology is the same, the recipes differ on some important points. And pirags, so the singular is actually pirag, and the plural piragi, actually has more in common with a Russian piroshk. A typical piroshk is boat or even crescent-shaped, made of a yeast-leavened dough with filling completely enclosed. Similar Russian pastries are sometimes other shapes. Piroshki are usually hand-sized. A smaller version may be served with soup. Piroshki are either fried or baked, and they come in sweet and savory varieties. Common savory fillings include ground meat, mashed potato, mushrooms, boiled egg with scallions, or cabbage. Typical sweet fillings are fruit with like apples, cherries, apricots, or jam. Baked piroshki are maybe glazed with egg to produce a nice golden color, and they also may be decorated with strips of dough. According to Dara Goldstein, the pirog is ubiquitous to Russian life as it is in literature. Street corners are dotted with hawkers selling their pies, and their diminutive cousins, the piroshki, are pocket-sized and oval. All can be made from a variety of doughs, yeast doughs, short or flaky pastry, depending on what suits the filling best. Putting aside the large recent outflow of Latvians heading west for better economic opportunities, the Latvian diaspora was formed and run for many years by those fleeing the Soviet occupation of Latvia. Even though community leadership has been taken over by their baby boomer offspring, or at least those still engaged because the majority have drifted to the periphery and beyond, old attitudes still prevail. Many would dismiss the Pirags as being void of cultural substance, akin to Oktoberfest, Oompa, and Lederhosen in German. But the fact is, the Piragis are still being made and chomped down by second, third, and fourth generation Canadians, Americans, Australians, and Brits, with few other connections to their Latvian heritage, apart from memories and family stories passed down from their parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents. The post-World War II Latvian diaspora is still focused on the exception. As an example, the focus of the 1 in 10 children and youths of Latvian descent who attend Latvian Sunday schools or Gerizer's Summer High School in Michigan. Only 1 in 10 Gerizers who graduates make their way back to Latvia. But what about the 1 in 10 who don't make it back? Or the 99 out of 100 who don't make it back? What about those whom the ultimate Latvian survivor, the Piragi, is one of the few Latvian connections? One of the earliest records of the Piragi I could find written down is from a recipe book printed in 1936. Of course, this doesn't mean they weren't making the Piragi before this time. It just means that this was the first time someone thought to write it down for others to reference. The book is called The Latvian and Modern Kitchen, Advice for Mistresses of the House on How to Properly Prepare Sustenance, published by the Fishback Latvian Committee's publishing arm. Of course, this originally is written in Latvian, and I'm just saying the English translation. And we'll talk about how to make these wonderful buns after the break.
Hey, I'm Matt from North Pole Radio, and I wrote a book with Santa Claus. No, really, I did, and you can read it right now. It's available. It's called Santa in His Own Words, and it tells the story of Santa's life, you guessed it, in his own words. It is a historical, magical journey that begins in the country of Lycia and spans all over the world, finally ending up at the North Pole. Why does Santa live at the North Pole? How do reindeer fly? How did Santa meet the elves? How did Santa meet Mrs. Claus? You can find out all of that and more in this book. You can find it now on Amazon or on Barnes & Noble's website. It's available in paperback or for your e-reader if you prefer that. So go to Amazon or Barnes & Noble and purchase your preferred format today. Thanks for reading, and remember, as always, keep Christmas with you.
Hi, this is Scott from Holly Jolly Xmasu, your podcast destination for Japanese Christmas music. If you like Christmas music and are tired of the same old songs, this is the podcast for you. Join me each month as I explore my collection of Yuletide albums from Japan, featuring everything from city pop to 80s rock, long-lost jazz, and psychedelic garage rock. Subscribe now wherever you get your podcasts. It's some of the greatest Christmas music you've never heard.
Many cultures have a handheld pastry. It's an easy way for people to pack a quick meal that didn't need wrapping and had a wonderful savory or sweet filling inside. It's also a great way to use up any small bits of meat or vegetables. If you find yourself visiting Latvia and a bakery, you will find that piragi is the generic term for any sort of stuffed bun or fruit or meat turnover, while pirazzini refers to the bacon buns. This recipe from 1936 goes as follows. You need 500 grams of wheat flour, 1 glass of milk, 75 grams of butter, 100 grams of potatoes, and salt. The amount given says the tip of a knife. And for the filling, you'll need 250 grams of smoked bacon, 50 grams of onions, pepper, again, the tip of a knife were amounts, half a teaspoon of caraway, I'm assuming that's the seed, and sugar, again, the tip of a knife amount. Heat the milk, butter, and salt to 30 degrees Celsius or 86 degrees Fahrenheit. Mix in the yeast, and who knows how much, it just says yeast. And if you can use fresh yeast if you know. And sifted wheat flour, forming the dough during the kneading of which added boiled diced minced potatoes. Take the well-kneaded dough and let it rise in a warm place, and press it back into the bowl and let it rise again, and then separate it into about 20 equal pieces. Flatten each piece of dough, put about a tablespoon of filling into the middle, press the edges together, and place it on a greased pan with a seam on the bottom. Formed in the shape of a crescent moon, let them rise again on the pan, coat with a half-beaten egg, or not, and cook in a really hot, literally the translation says powerful oven for about 10 minutes. Eat hot or cold. Now for the filling, you can cut the smoked bacon into small cubes, add some diced onion, pepper, sugar, and caraway according to taste. If you wish, you can lightly brown the bacon with the onion. Now this is great, but the main issue I have with older recipes is that there's a little bit of implied knowledge of some sort. I mean, take the amount of salt and pepper, for example. One would say to taste, as everyone's amount of seasoning differs, and the amount of yeast. There was no number or amount given, so it's kind of implied that you would know how much yeast to add to the dough. And again, it doesn't say how to fill the dough with the filling. Yes, it seems implied to make a flat circle, put the dough filling in the middle, and then fold it over like a half crescent shape. But for some who's never made this before, how would you know what that means? So maybe it was just general knowledge, but I know most of this would have to be written down in newer cookbooks, step by step. Now, one would think that this recipe is actually very high in fat because it uses smoked bacon because of the type of meat, right? One of the most important and nutritious parts of the Latvian diet used to be meat and lard. I mean, nowadays we're all consumed about calories and carbs and all that stuff, but think of it 50, even 100 years ago, you were out in the field working all day, hard labor, so you easily can consume 3,000 calories plus a day, and it wouldn't really make a difference. So anything nice high in fat gives you a nice caloric intake. In winter, when lack of milk led to eating more meat and lard, that was your source of fat. That kept you warm. Animals were slaughtered in autumn because it was hard to feed them through the winter. Sheep were slaughtered around September 29th and pigs were around November 10th. And of course, pork is the favorite for this filling. The fattier, the better. Pigs were raised in every household, be it rich or poor. A large proportion of the meat was prepared for consumption throughout the year by salting and smoking it. Fattened pigs were slaughtered in the autumn, 3 or 4 at the time. Slaughtering as well as butchering the pig was a skilled task. Butchers had to know how to separate the head, how to take out and divide and clean the entrails, where to split the spine, and how to separate the legs. The most coveted piece was the leg ham, folded by the shoulder, the loin, the ribs, the neck, the trotters, and the head. Everything was used. Meat was salted in large barrels. Meat was layered with salt and covered with a wooden plank, and the weight was placed on top. A barrel wrapped in cloth and covered with nettles, that is a plant that kind of has like little stinging hairs on it to deter pests. And meat was salted twice. First, after the first salting and the meat was taken out of barrels, the pink juice that is run off, that is the salt, is taking the liquid out of the meat. That was discarded, and the salting process was repeated for a second time. Now, well-salted meat would last 2 to 3 years if you didn't need to eat it right away. In pre-refrigeration times, there was salting meat and smoking was an essential method for preserving meat throughout long, harsh Baltic winters. Families would slaughter their pigs in the late autumn, and smoking the meat ensured a reliable food source during the colder months. This practice was especially important during festive periods like Christmas, when fresh meat was scarce. Smoked meats therefore became a staple in winter diets, including the holiday meals. Now, the timing of the pig slaughter in late autumn was not only practical, but aligned with the seasonal celebrations. The timing of pig slaughter in late autumn was not only practical, but also aligned with the seasonal celebrations. The fresh smoked meats from these slaughters were often first consumed during Christmas, marking the holiday as a time of abundance and communal feasting. This seasonal cycle reinforced the association of smoked meats with festive occasions. The prominence of smoked meats in Latvian Christmas traditions is a testament to their practical importance for winter survival and their rich cultural symbolism. They represent a convergence of necessity and tradition, making them an enduring feature of Latvian festive cuisine. If you try to make this dish yourself, I recommend getting your hands on some nice smoked pork belly. It is a richer flavor than like bacon, because bacon is not really smoked that long, and it has a less liquid basically, so you won't have a very soggy filling. Of course, if you can't get your hands on smoked meat, you can use a pork belly. That's available through your local butcher or deli, and I would suggest, because it has a higher water content, you might want to just cook it down a little bit. You want to cut the pieces into like little small dice, and then under medium-low heat, let it cook with the onions. So the onions become translucent and some of the fat is rendered off. That way you can discard the liquid portion, so you don't have really a soggy filling. The culinary landscape of Latvia is a vibrant tapestry woven with historical influences, regional ingredients, and age-old traditions that reflect the heart and soul of its people. The rich gastronomic heritage of Latvia not only showcases the natural bounty of the land, but also embodies the customs and rituals that have been passed down through generations. This is why the Piragi has lasted through generations. It has a connection to the old ways while blending in with the newer traditions. I'm your host, Glenn Warren, and thank you for listening to another serving of Seasons Eatings. Seasons Eatings can be found wherever you download your favorite podcasts. I would love to hear from you, so you can contact me at seasonseatingspodcast@gmail.com. You can leave me ideas for future episodes, leave me a comment or criticism, or just say hello. Also, if you leave me a 5-star review and let me know, I'll send you a Seasons Eating sticker as a personal thank you. We also have some great merchandise. Click on the tab to find your next great gift at seasonseatingspodcast.com. Thanks again for having another serving of Seasons Eatings. All music used on Seasons Eatings is royalty-free and used under the Creative Commons license.